Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending upon where you live around the world. Coming straight on the heels of the previous video, literally, I wanted to now take the structure, the scaffold upon which we draw our triangles to create the dome, the sphere, and then create the models upon which we can make our decisions of what we're going to do and how our understanding of domes. And as I said, my cheat, the one I think is probably a cheat, this one here, but it's a damn fine cheat. It may be the correct method, I simply don't know, because as I've said many times, and a couple of times in the previous video, my levels of ignorance is, well, it's impressive. I'm ignorant of the correct method, but don't let that fear stop you moving on and creating what you want, or the output that you want. And also, I mentioned that it's a warts and all approach often, that we look at our videos. I look at the videos as a multimedia or medium for entertainment half the time and education. So I leave in my boo-boos, my mistakes, and there are plenty. Those mistakes which are egregious to my ego, the videos never get seen. They'll get deleted. But I do not edit my videos, and as I said in the last video, you probably wished I did. Anyway, I have digressed. In the previous video, I did say that this is the base upon which we'll draw the other domes. But first we need to rotate it so this pentagon, or a pentagon, is vertical, facing straight up. So where do we find our center line to do this? Well, it's dead simple. It's sitting right there. It's irrelevant. All you need to have is to make this vertical is to take any 2 points here, in this case, and use the rotation tool. Just stick it on there, left button, pull it out to the whatever direction, and find the rotation indicator there, the red axis in this case, and I'm going to, whoops, I will do that again. Warts and all, make a group. Now that's going to be more logical. I am going to rotate this through the red axis until it is level. And what's that? Happens to be, I'm going to do this in a second method. It happens to be, if we look in the bottom right hand corner, and this is the point, about 58.3 degrees. Now, Paul alluded to this in another video. If you do follow some of the tutorials for drawing complex structures or geometry like this, sometimes they get it close, but they can't get it exact if they're using a numerical base or a numbers based approach, because Sketchup can't. It's difficult for the user to use Sketchup correctly using a degree and point of a degree and get an accurate drawing. Doing it the method that Paul uses and I use, you're using the geometry itself, the shape itself, and Sketchup is perfect when you do it that way. It doesn't know the measurement, it just knows that the geometry is correct and it does it correctly. And so I'm going to click there. So that is we have leveled the dome, the structure. But remember the wee squiggly thing at the front? Can't remember what it's called. whenever you see that, be worried. If it's not an issue for you, well, carry on. But if you see that and you need to have a precise and repeatable process, try and eliminate seeing that, or stop, or not relying on it. Anyway, I digress again. I'm going to back out of that. We know that this is the point of rotation because it takes the points from the pentagon here, from here and here, so I know I'm going to rotate it correctly. I could come up and use the edge, is what I normally do actually. In fact, I'll show you different ways. I put a guide along there, and I can put just to clarify it. I know SketchUp is perfectly able to draw that perfectly square. If I typed in a degree, I enter into the process of, you could potentially, not in this case, but potentially enter in a glitchy number. You're thinking that it was correct because that's what SketchUp gave you. No. How do I know this? Because when I make my other domes, they are very involved in the required angles. I found that, and you have to, anyway, I like using the geometry approach, or if you know that it has to be exactly 90 degrees or 45 degrees or 30, type that in, that's fine. But these, not so much. So now I can take that and I can rotate it through the red axis, and I can take that point and I can lift it up to the line, which I know is dead level. All the three axes are true to plane, so I created two here and I had something physical to go to. Whereas before, when I rotated it, I was letting SketchUp snap to the horizontal. That makes me nervous because it enters the possibility, and this is more of a, as I said in the first video of this series, this is a transitional type or straddling type video between Dome and SketchUp. So when I'm doing anything with SketchUp, it's a background to using SketchUp itself, not the underlying item that we've got here. But because it's a dome, people might be looking at this at the dome. By God, I do digress at times, do I not? But anyway, I find that is the easiest way to rotate. And now I've got I'll get rid of the guides. I'm confident in my structure, my dome, being level across the pentagons. Yay. So, what do we do from here? Well, you can now decide that you want to create, in fact, I'll go back to the other screen. You may want to create this. If I hide these, you can see, where are we? You can see that underlying this is another little structure. In fact, I'll hide that just for your satisfaction so that you can see the darn thing clearly. I'll get rid of all of that. So many lines, which is why we're doing this exercise. Now you've got this inverted pentagon based pyramid. Itself is a satisfying structure, and you may wish to make use of it. Don't know why, but you may well. So you can generate, and these are geometrically accurate. Into what end result I don't know, but they're geometrically accurate. But over it is this pentagon on all sides. So we're not getting to the hexagon, but we'll generate it from this base eventually. But we have at this moment a pentagon type sphere, and this also may be something that you wish to make use of as a dome. How do we get to this? Well, believe it or not, there are several ways to get to this. I'm only doing one, and it is a real clumsy one. I'm going to take the points, the opposing points. I'm going to leave that alone and move that down here. Move that 5 meters for no other reason than it gets it away from there. And I'm going to explode it so I can hide things. Hide that. If we look from through the dome, so we're looking, in fact, what I might do, hide that, and hide Chris. From the opposing point there, I'm going to draw a line. Yay, one of many. What does that give us? Well, not a lot really, but if I were to draw a line from the apex down vertically, it will intersect that line. And guess what? That's the center of our dome. I can, if I wanted, get rid of that. Now that point there, if I rotated round, and I suggest we don't need to at this stage, but I could rotate that round 72 degrees and it will touch each of those points. That line there, oh god, I'm going to unhide. That line there is that line there. So the length of that line is the radii of the dome. Believe me? Oh, you don't have to. Hide, hide, hide. Remember the points of rotation? We rotated around here. If I move this, in fact I'll unhide. That point there, or that triangle there, if I move back, I'm going to copy it, 10 meters, we could actually insert it into this model. In fact, I'm going to redo that. I'm going to pause. I'm going to realign this so it's in line with each other, because as I moved it, I didn't align it. So just wait there. I'm going to go away and do that little bit of homework or catching up. Okay, so just wait there. And yes, we're back again. I forgot a step, because when I separated these two forms, this was of course based upon this, I forgot that I'd rotated this up, and of course this was unrotated. Now I knew that it was rotated about 58.3 degrees. So knowing that, I was able to then rotate this exactly correctly, not about 58.3 degrees. So all I had to do, because I knew how I rotated this, I just had to choose the point that would of rotation, which is, as you can see, well, you can it is implied that it was there because it was where I rotated the line through the straight line. I thought it was this point I had to rotate. It wasn't. It happened to be this point. And by doing that same method of transferring a guideline, okay, big sigh, I'm going to undo my rotation. I took a guide, put it up on this point, clicked on the model. There's my point of rotation. I wanted the red axis. I thought it was this point, and I'd reference it to the guideline. Look down the bottom right hand corner. Not the right point of rotation. Scratch head. Take that point, bring it up until it hits so it snaps to, And I said before, I don't like the rotation of snap. In this, you've got to know when to use the different features of SketchUp. In this case, this is a really good one. It snaps to, look down the bottom right hand corner, about 58.3 degrees. We know that is exactly the same rotation that this is. So you could put this back in place, or this back over there. Now, also a little feature which I strongly recommend: when you move things, move them in round number amounts, like 1 meter, 2 meter, 3 meter. Don't just drag it off to the side and say, well, I'll get back to that later, and be happy with that. Because when I move this one 5 meters out, I move this one 5 meters. 5 meters isn't the important point. It's a round number. So now, if I take that and move it and copy it, 10 meters, type it in, bingo. It goes back and touches perfectly the form from which it was formed. So I know that I have created the correct geometry and shape, that this will allow me to use that. Anyway, I digress. Where was I going with that? Well, if each point here, or that point there, is that point there. How long's that line? Well, let's measure it. It happens to be, round number, 10 meters. So if I am correct, that point there, if I draw a line 10 meters, now I'm not recommending you do this, I'm just doing this to show that it's correct. The length of that line from there down to the intersection of the 3 rectangles, if I come here, it intersects my center point, my very center of my dome. That's just a way of showing or validating that the diagonal is the radii of the particular dome you're making. Now, in the first video, I also said, don't worry about the size of the rectangles. Therefore, as a result of that, you don't worry about the length of this line until you need to. And even now I don't need to, but I can show you what I'm getting at. I'm going to delete that. I'll delete the 2 lines. I'll unhide everything. If I want to now scale this to a particular size, and this is, I'm gonna have to say it, another point Paul Robinson used, it was, I don't even know whether he was making a point or just a bit like me, telling you the process that he's doing. He dimensioned a particular part of the dome that made it exactly what I wanted. I'm going, would never have thought of doing it that way. Just as valid as any other way of doing it, but there's more than one ways to skin the cat. But as we all know, no matter which way you skin the cat is never happy about it. So he could say that, let's just, I know I'm bouncing around a little bit, but we take the length of that and we see that it's an odd about 1.396 meters, or 1396 millimeters. It's the way builders talk, the way they measurements. But anyway, I digress. But it is an about. If I wanted that to be exactly 1 meter, so it's a 2 meter diameter dome, or so it's 1 meter radii of it, and I'm hesitating to, oh no, I'm not going to do this, but I could use the tape measure tool. In fact, I'm going to do it because I always back out. I'm going to take the tape measure tool, click and click. Don't do anything yet, but I'm going to type in 1 meter and now hit enter. Oh, what do we have here? Do you want to resize the model? Why, yes, I do. Thank you very much. It has rescaled anything that I've drawn. Bear that in mind. Hasn't rescaled Chris. Bear that in mind. Now, I take my line tool, measure that, look down in the bottom right hand corner, exactly 1 meter, 1000 millimeters. That is really powerful. I did it via a slightly different method, which is not as straightforward as this, but this is not always available to you because you don't always have this particular line in place. Anyway, I digress. Part of the problem is sometimes you only want to rescale part of your file or the what's on screen, what you've created. So sometimes you have to go through a slightly different process. Anyway, I'm going to back out of that, go back to, I don't need the scale, it's just that I'm going back to the starting point. The way I've found to do it is, if I only wanted to scale that and not that, in fact, this is more of a SketchUp thing. I'm going to hide that and I'm going to scale this. So I'm going to hit the tape measure tool there, type in 1 meter, it says the same thing, and I say, why yes, thank you very much. I want to rescale it. I know this is 1 meter. Look, bottom right hand corner, yes, it's all good. Now unhide. Hang on a minute. Let's rescale these ones as well. And there's the point. Sometimes SketchUp will rescale things that are not visible. Importantly, if you're using layers, yeah, don't go there. It can actually rescale stuff that you really didn't want scaled, or if it's not shown, or it's hidden or locked or done something else to it in your modeling, it may or may not scale. So, boy, am I digressing. And unhide everything. What I have found works, and I don't know whether it's the correct way, of those that are more knowledgeable than I will be screaming at me at the moment saying, no, not that way. What I have done is I hit Control X. I now come in here, tape tool, measure there, type in 1 meter. Do I want to scale it? Yes. And then hit Control V, come back in here, and not scaled. Scaled. So I keep the best of both worlds intact. It is also the way I copy and paste it or cut and paste it, not in its original location, so it's a bit of a pain, but I digress. That's not bad. In fact, if I wanted to, I could take all of that, move that down, orientate it to there, move it back. I could do it that way. I'm not bothering. But you can see that knowing the shortcomings of not just SketchUp but yourself, or your way, your process, you can work around lots of things. I go back and hide. Oh, I'll go back a bit more, and we're back to where we were before. So we've got everything same scale, same orientation, distances, or what have you, and that's another 25 minutes of your life that you'll never get back. But we've got to where we need to go now for the next stage, which is, in fact, I'm going to give away a wee bit. We are scaling it next to make life easy, and I did this via another method which I'll show as well, which does not make your life easy. And I thought, why do that? Follow what Paul's saying, because he many years ago has had this well sorted, much earlier than this version of SketchUp, and I couldn't believe just how much things have developed, and it's much easier to use this version than the 6, 7, 8 year old version of SketchUp. Anyway, this was a real rubbishy video. unedited again, and what it really has showed is the relationship of this line to this model, and how we can adjust the scale of this model and know how to rotate things accurately. That's the thing. If you wanted to type in and rotate it 58.3, but it had that little diddly bit in front of it, the about, or close to approximate. What is the approximate? And that is the error that you do not want to entertain. If you go from point to point and rotate, it is accurate. Precision and accurate. 58.3 degrees you would think is a precise mount, degree, number. Correct. 58.3 is, but it's the diddly bit in front, the approximate or about, that is the error that you eliminate when you rotate the object in the method we've talked about. So it might be 5 or 6 decimal places to the right of the dot. Well, Sketchup will draw it to that accuracy. We'll move it to that accuracy using the rotation tool via the method. So, and that is accurate. Precision and accurate are not synonymous. They can be used that way, but they are not. And if you don't have that difference in your mind, you're going to have problems. Okay. Whew. That's now 27 minutes of your life you're never going to get back. Okay, into part 3 in the next video. Bye now.